Grisly crimes from past. The Enigma of Nuremberg. The teenage boy who appeared from nowhere, staggering through the streets of Nuremberg, Germany, on Whit Monday, 1828, acted as if he was injured or drunk. He walked unsteadily up to a complete stranger, a local cobbler, and gave him a letter addressed to the captain of the 6th Cavalry Regiment, then stationed in the city, and mumbled repeatedly, "I want to be a soldier like my father was." The cobbler helped the boy to walk with difficulty to the police station, where the lad waited until the cavalry officer was summoned. At the police station, the letter was opened, and the senior police officer and the cavalryman read the poignant and bitter message. The letter explained, "I send you a boy who's anxious to serve his king in the army. He was left at my house on 7th of October 1812, and I'm only a poor laborer. I have 10 children of my own to bring up. I have not let him outside since 1812. With cruel indifference, the letter added, "If you do not want to keep him, kill him or hang him up a chimney." The letter was unsigned, and the police and the army officer sadly assumed that the 16-year-old boy, abandoned as a baby, was still unwanted. The scrawled message seems to explain his peculiar behavior, unable to walk properly on feet as soft as a baby's and with an infant vocabulary of only a few words. But the lad could write his own name in a firm, legible hand, Kaspar Hauser. The jailer in Nuremberg was fascinated by the boy and kept him in a room in his own quarters where he could watch him through a secret opening. It took him only a few days of careful observation before he decided that Kaspar was neither a born idiot nor a young madman. With loving patience, the jailer, using sign language, taught Kaspar to talk, noting how quickly and eagerly the boy began to learn the new skills. Within 6 weeks, the burgomaster of Nuremberg had been summoned to the jail to hear the first halting details from Kaspar of his wretched life. All Kaspar could remember was being kept in a small cell, about 1.8 meter long, 1.2 meter wide, and 1.5 meter high. The shutters on the window of the cell were kept permanently closed, and he slept in threadbare clothes in a bed of straw. He saw nobody and heard virtually nothing all the years he was there. Living on a diet of bread and water he found in the cell when he awoke each day. Sometimes he revealed the water tasted bitter and made him fall asleep. Every time this happened, he woke up to find his hair had been cut and his nails trimmed. After years of isolation, Kaspar recalled, a hand reached into his cell from behind and gave him a sheet of paper and a pen. The hand guided him each day until he could write his name and repeat the phrase, "I want to be a soldier." One morning, his cell was unlocked, and he was taken out into the street, into daylight and the company of other people for the first time in his life. It was the first time, too, that he wore shoes. In the confusion of unfamiliar sights and sounds, Kaspar remembered nothing until he found himself in Nuremberg with the letter in his hand. The boy's story touched the burgomaster and the people of Nuremberg, and soon young Kaspar was adopted by Professor Daumer, who began the task of educating the teenager into the ways of the world around him. In a few months, Kaspar was transferred from a stumbling, retarded child to a bright, intelligent young man, with his mysterious background creating a buzz of excitement in his new hometown. He became a much sought-after guest in the homes of curious philosophers and wealthy intellectuals, and Nuremberg society soon began to remark on Kaspar's startling physical resemblance to the members of the families of the Grand Dukes of Baden, the rulers of the province. Rumors abounded, the most popular being that Kaspar was of noble birth, and that his childhood isolation had been heartlessly planned to prevent him succeeding to power as a Baden prince. At the time of Kaspar's birth, two of the princes of the Baden family in direct line of succession had died in mysterious circumstances. The people of Nuremberg were convinced that Kaspar Hauser was an unwanted son of the royal family, born to the Grand Duke Karl and his wife, the Grand Duchess Stephanie. Grand Duchess Stephanie had indeed given birth to a child 16 years earlier, but she never saw the baby. Scheming palace doctors had told her that her baby had died soon after birth of cerebral meningitis, a diagnosis confirmed by a post-mortem examination. And when Grand Duke Karl became seriously ill in 1829, he had no son and heir to succeed him. Kaspar by that time had been in Nuremberg for a year, living with Professor Daumer and growing in reputation as a presentable, intelligent young man of distinct ability and culture. As the Grand Duke's health failed, in October 1829, Kaspar's already bitterly unhappy young life was almost ended. He was attacked and stabbed by a masked assailant in the basement of Professor Daumer's house, but he survived his wounds. The following year, the Grand Duke died, and the royal succession passed to another line of the family, the sons of the Countess of Hochberg. A few months later, an eccentric English nobleman, said by many to be a friend of the Hochberg family, appeared in Nuremberg to petition the court to become Kaspar's guardian in place of Professor Daumer. Philip, the fourth Earl of Stanhope, won his court plea in spite of local opposition, and so, out of public sight, another period of isolation began for the wretched Kaspar. He was taken away from his newfound friends in Nuremberg on Lord Stanhope's order and lodged with a surly Protestant pastor in the town of Ansbach, 20 miles away. With Kaspar safely out of the way, Lord Stanhope lost interest in his new foster son, leaving him to his miserable existence with Pastor Mayer. On 11th of December 1833, Kaspar, then 21 years old and working as an apprentice bookbinder, was returning to his dismal lodging through a park when he was stopped by a stranger. The man asked his name, and when Kaspar replied, he stabbed him repeatedly. Badly wounded, Kaspar staggered back to Pastor Mayer's home, but the preacher never informed the police, cruelly taunting Kaspar that he had inflicted the wounds himself to get attention. 3 days later, Kaspar Hauser died in agony. Hearing of his death, the Grand Duchess Stephanie was reported to have broken down and wept, sobbing that she believed the young man had really been the son she was told had died in infancy. But none of his friends or the German court could ever prove the background of the boy with no history and no future. They could never solve the riddle of who had locked him away for the first 16 years of his hopeless life, or who the mysterious assassins were who finally succeeded in killing him. The boy, who came from nowhere, was buried in the churchyard at Ansbach. On his tombstone was the simple epitaph, "Here lies Kaspar Hauser, Enigma." Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and leave a comment, as it helps with YouTube algorithm to grow this channel. I regularly upload, so by subscribing, you will be notified of new materials. You will find similar contents in my other videos. Have a safe day, signing off.